So that thing that I showed us is DOM manipulation, and that is the first area that you need to start. So if you want to manipulate a DOM, or before you start creating a basic calculator, you should have it at the back of your mind already that, okay, I need to do some things to the HTML elements using JavaScript. All right. And some time ago, we looked at this. We talked about how we can manipulate the DOM. So if you already know in your head that, okay, you have to manipulate the DOM, that will be a very good beginning. Okay. And then the second thing is you need to understand your file structure. In this case, look at what we have here. In this file now, we have a bunch of buttons. All these things you are seeing here, they are nothing but just buttons upon buttons upon buttons. And what I'll quickly do now is this. I'm going to change all this because I said we are going to build it from ground up. So I'm going to change some of the things here. I had to copy some other code and add here so that we will not waste time. So I'm going to change some of the codes that we have here in order to fit into the very beginning. Okay. In order to Okay. Chibondo, I got your message. So in order to fit into the basics. Now, if you go online, even if you use ChatGPT, you ask for basic calculator in JavaScript, they are going to give you some codes, but then if you tweak your prompts, it may end up giving you something different from a very basic calculator structure. Now for the benefits, because I told us something that when I did my own my JavaScript basic calculator, I did not get 100 because I went and did what is they consider to be beyond what the instructor asked me to do. Okay, so not that I did something wrong, but I did not stay within the requirements, so to speak, the requirement of the project. So I'm going to change all this data value. I'll just have to highlight all of them like this so that I'll be able to change them all at the same time. So this one now, why you go mess up? So you can press down your Alt key and then you be clicking one at a time so that you can highlight different lines and do the editing at the same time. So I think I'm going to get rid of this one entirely. So I'm going to change this to something entirely different. Why am I going to change it? I'll change it so that we'll pass a different value to these buttons. Then later on we can improve it onto separation of concerns, and later on we can improve it just bit by bit. We'll continue to improve the calculator just like that. So what we are going to put in here is the onClick. We're going to use onClick, and inside this onClick we have to pass in another value. The onClick will take in this, we'll pass in a function which I'm going to, let me just call it add number. To all the numbers, we are going to call it add number, and I'm going to, we're going to put in the number that we want to add in between. So just watch me. I will clean up the code very soon, so that it will look better. So that why we are using a function there is because we want a situation where anytime that we click on any button, it will fire a function directly from the HTML element instead of doing it the other way around. So I'll clean this up like this. Alright, and I'm supposed to wrap it up with a quote. That's why it is showing red. Then I'll come down to this particular place here, and I'm going to wrap this one up here too, and inside here get rid of this. Okay, this is how it is supposed to be. Now I'll change some of them. This number 7 inside here will pass in 7. This is 8. This is going to be 9. And this one here, this is an operator. So I'll pass in this, but I'll change this to operator so that it will correspond. Okay. Now the question is, why is it still showing me this? Why is it showing me red when I'm sure that I've not done anything wrong? Why is it showing me red when I'm sure I've not done anything wrong? But if I change it to single quotes, then the problem will be solved. You see, at this point now we have to understand why it is showing red is because I have quotes inside and outside. So, and this is HTML file. All right. So the HTML where we are trying to inject in JavaScript. So it is trying to interpret the quotations around the value to mean something else. And then to create a difference, the inside own has to be single quotes, the outside own then remains double quotes. Or I use double quotes outside and use single quotes, and use double quotes inside and use single quotes outside. Whichever way you want to do it, just make sure that you don't confuse the IDE on what is going on right here. So at this point now, everything is responding the way it's supposed to. Hello guys, are you guys hearing me?
Yes, we are, sir.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
We can hear you, sir.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Thank you for responding. So don't be offended. This may take some time, but I think it's necessary. It's necessary. So let us not do anything by assumption. When it gets to the one we need to assume, yes, we'll go ahead and assume. Okay. So remember all the ones that are what is it called? All the ones that are operator, I'll change. Somebody's mic is on. So all the ones that are operator, I would go ahead and change them to operators so that we will understand clearly what is going to happen later on. So this we have 2, this we have 3, and this is another operator, which is the subtraction operator. So I'll also change this one. Please, that person should mute the mic. Thank you. So here we have 0, and here we have 0, and here we have decimal. Well, let me get rid of this decimal first. Here we have the equal sign, and here we have plus. Okay, we have plus. I had it here. So where we have that equal sign, we'll call it something else. So here we change this one to operator 2 because it's addition. It's an operator. So we have the division, multiplication, subtraction, addition, and here I'll just call this calculate. Okay. Let's call it calculate because it is the equal sign. Now for this additional jargons, I'll get rid of them. Alright. Okay. Now let me quickly explain what we have here because it's pretty important that you understand it. Okay. This on click, I have a favorite. devdocs.io. I don't joke with this documentation, and every time we have class, I must reference it. Okay, so I'm going to search for the on-click. This on-click is an event trigger. What is going on? On-click inside JavaScript lab. Where? I said for I did not like it. Let me just open this event and let's look for the on-click events right here. So this on-click is an event in JavaScript, and the event is nothing but just an event, something that happens, and this particular event is listening or is paying attention to clicks. So that is why we have the appended keyword click on it, which means at the time that something is clicked, then you specify inside the function what should happen. Okay, you specify inside your click what you want to see or what should happen whenever that on click event is performed. Alright, so you are going to come across that multiple times, this on click, and what we are passing inside here, this is now a function that we have not declared yet, but we'll declare it inside our JavaScript. So this is a function that we want to trigger anytime that any button is clicked, and inside that function we are passing a value. In other words, we are initializing the function with a number right here. So let us see how this is going to work by the time we start this, we enter the JavaScript part. To go to JavaScript, we need to grab the buttons. Remember, the buttons does not have class, okay, but they have the on-click events. And then we need to grab the screen. This is the screen, the black section of the calculator, either with an ID or with a class. But today I'm going to go with class because the other day we did something with class, but it was not working as expected. But get element by ID was always working. So we'll try to sort that out this evening. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just call a variable const, and in that variable I will call it let me call it calculator results, and I will pass it to documents. This time around is not get element by ID, rather we use query selector. Why query selector? I've said it, query selector is more dynamic. It's more dynamic than get element by ID or any other one that you want to use. We have query selector. We have query selector all when you are looking for multiple items. And inside here, what we are going to pass in is dots. We are going to pass in the class name of the screen. In this case, it is calculator screen. So I'll just copy it and then come over here and paste it. And because it is a class, I have to include this dot here. If I remove the dots, it will not work. Alright, because I'm using query selector, is looking for the elements, so I need to specify that this is class by including this dot. If it's ID, you don't need to include anything there. So this is our screen. And now the next thing that we have to do then is we have to start creating those functions. Okay, we have to start creating those functions. And we have how many functions there? We have three functions. This is add number, add operator, and we have the calculate function. So altogether we have three functions. The first one, we just use the function keyword and we call it add number. And then add number. What we need to do here, we'll put in our code, the code that we want to add right inside here. And I'll just make a copy of this. I'll paste again. Paste again. Then instead of them, the second function is add operator. While the third function is calculate. So these are the three functions that we want to create. Starting with this add number. What we want to achieve with that is we want to grab the number. Anytime we click on any button that has that function in it, it should give us the value we initialize that function with. And what do we do in that case? Here we're going to say calculator screen, because whatever we are clicking on should be showing on the screen. So we say the calculator results dot value. This dot value, remember, in a form like in this input field, in this place now. If I come somewhere here and put in value and I pass in something like 100 inside that, you see that it's show here. Okay, so it means that any time that you want to grab a value or return a value from either an HTML form elements, you do that by accessing the value attributes.
That is why we are using
dot value here. So we are saying whenever we click on any button that has this function, it should look for the value of the button that is clicked, and what we need to do is we need to pass it onto the screen, and we do that by just using our operator here, and then what do we do?
Let's just call it number.
Let's just call it number.
So trying to see if
like
it
this.
is not going to work.
So trying to see if it works is not going to work. If I click here, nothing is happening. Let us inspect this page.
Okay. Inspect. Come on. So if I check the console, look at what's happening.
If I inspect this page, inspect this reference error. Add number is not defined. So what is basically going on is not able to access what is passed into this place. How do I? It's not able to access the value that is passed in here. And for us to access it, we need to pass a parameter into that function. Why? Because we are initializing the function inside our HTML. So we need to come inside here. We pass in this value. This will be the, let me call it the function variable. I'll just pass it in here. Now at this point, if I click, it's still saying add number is not defined. And if you check the screen, nothing is showing. So what could exactly be the problem? Let us now look at our code properly to see where the problem is coming from. If it is not defined, we have add number here, and right here we have add number as a function, and if we click, it says it's not defined. Those who are working on their laptops, Alpha, what's going on?
Can anybody hear me?
Can anybody hear me?
Hello guys.
Hello guys.
We can hear you.
So we can hear you, but we are not on the system.
Yes,
I'm asking those people who are on the system how far, and nobody's saying anything. They became silent. Everybody became silent. Everybody became. So is there anybody working, doing this along?
So I'm trying to keep up, but I'm not finished. I'm not finished typing the JavaScript.
Okay.
Trying to start the listener now.
So let us look at
what is going on actually.
I thought somebody is working.
I thought somebody is working along so that we're able to ask question.
No.
But there's no problem.
Let us come inside.
Let us come inside here. I'll just create a function here inside the same function. Let me comment this one out. And on this particular one that we have, let's do something. Let us pass a variable here. Let me pass something here, something like up, and then I would come inside here and I would say log. I want to log out something. I want to log out this of right here, and when I click, let me click on something, I'll fire that. So if I click here, it's also saying that add operator is not defined, which means there is a problem between this JavaScript and the HTML. Since nobody is watching, the only reason why it is not working is because they both are not connected. I thought somebody was paying attention. This JavaScript right inside here is on its own. This is just like a one-man soldier. It's there. It's not. See, our HTML does not know that there is a JavaScript anywhere. So inside the HTML, we have declared some functions, and when you click on them, it can't locate where that function is, and that's why it is bringing this reference error. It's asking, where are you? This thing that you are asking me to do, where should I locate the file from? And it's not able to find it. That's why it is giving us this reference error. It's not syntax error. It is not a type error. It is reference error. So I have to now come over here and I use our script, just like we have also looked at before. I'll use our scripts and then connect the both of them like this. Having connected them, if I click on this, you see now that we have 8 on the screen. Now we can also log it out. Come this way, easier to access. So if I come in here and I log out number, okay, if I click, you should have what I'm clicking on right here. So because we have coded the numbers inside the function, look at them here. Because we have hard coded them, any number that I click, the value should be printed on the screen. And I logged it out here, we can already see it. So this is the first step in building a calculator. You should be able to make sure that your numbers are being translated to the screen. So if I click on any of them, they are all being added, simply because I said whenever I click, I use the function to pass the value of the function, the value of the button I'm clicking to the screen. It's as simple as that. Okay. Now another thing is we are going to now code this second function so that we'll know when a number is clicked and when an operator is clicked. So here we call it operator, and right inside here, what we are going to do is the same thing. We will say the screen should show us the value of the operator that we are clicking. If I click on this, it should show us on the screen this, and this. Now this calculates on its own. That is where we use that eval, but I will explain something about eval, and if time permits, we are going to remove the eval and use something else this evening, which I believe we can do. So right away, right away here, I don't need to pass anything onto this, a parameter to the function. What I need to do now is I will just grab what is on the screen. Because what eval function does, eval can execute a JavaScript expression. So I will grab what is on the screen. That is whatever value that is on the screen. I will now pass it onto that eval. And what do I want the eval to do? I want the eval to grab, take also whatever that is on the screen, and then calculate it and give me the answer. It's as simple as
I
that.
say 1
So if I say 1 plus 3,
is it should give me
like this, it should give me
already
4.
have something that
Like this, we already have something that functions like a calculator, or we should say we already have a sorry, we already have a calculator. Being that I don't have the clear screen, just give me a second, let me duplicate this one, and I'll just keep this. Just have to give it a descriptive name too. What is going on? So this, sorry, I need to call this one clear, and inside here just passing this here, okay. So that this one, it will be here. We can use this one to clean the screen anytime we need, instead of refreshing the page all the time. Alright. So far we already have something that looks like that functions like a calculator, so to speak. So what I need to do now is I need to create another function, and this time I'll just call it clear, and I'll take whatever that is on the screen and declare it to an empty string. It's very simple. So if I click this and I click this, hold on. If I click this and click this, something is wrong somewhere. I have declare function, and declare function is supposed to clear the screen.
I think we should put a single quote and space. Is that clear function, an inbuilt function?
I don't understand.
I don't understand. We should put quote and space inside the function.
Oh, okay. Sorry, just continue. I want to know if that clear is an inbuilt function.
No, it's not.
No, it's not inbuilt.
Okay.
Okay. In case there is something that is maybe similar to it, let's rename it to. I understand what your question. Clear screen, so that it will be more descriptive. So when I click this, Okay. Alright, I think that was conflicting with something else. So this is okay. Now if I click this plus this, I click this, it should give us 3. If I click here, it should clear. So it's very simple. You see that this JavaScript looks very simple. Just functions, we create a function, passing single lines of code inside, and then our calculator is up, good to go. But let me show us something about this eval. If you come over here, you see that they even put in a warning at the top here. It said executing JavaScript from a string is an enormous security risk. Okay, because it's far too easy for a bad actor to run arbitrary code when you use the eval. Okay, so it is not a good practice to use eval in your code. Now, let's forget that this one we are running basic calculator, but we should note that even though it can make the calculation to be easy, but it's not a good practice to use that. Now, at this point, up to this level, I believe that yes, we have gotten idea of how we can use JavaScript to manipulate our HTML elements in order to give
even
us
though passing this on
a
click
basic
here
calculator functionality. Even
because
though passing this on click here is not also nice. Why? Because it violates the principle of separation of concerns. We have a JavaScript file, so we don't have any need writing JavaScript inside our HTML again. Okay, we have this here already. So all the JavaScript should come here, and that is what we are going to do next. So if anybody have any confusion at this point, the person can ask question. Then before we begin to refactor the code,
do you have any question?
Do you have any question?
You can use the chat if your
You
mic
can use the chat if your mic is not working. I hope somebody is not sleeping. Oh, now we choose this time. Your screen is laughing. I'll be laughing matter. Now we choose this time. Okay, I wasn't paying attention to the chat.
Okay,
do you have any question? Somebody should ask question if you have not understood, if you have any challenge up to this level. So minimally, I cannot think of any other simple way of doing this simple calculator than what we have just done. So if you have a simpler way of making it, in fact, to making the JavaScript code to be less, then maybe you can share with us as we proceed. So if there's no question up to this level, now see what we're going to do next. The next thing we need to do now is to how do I put it, refactor this code. So that we don't need to write a separate code. We need to refactor the code. And what I need to do now is to remove all this. I'll just clear all this, but I will do it batch by batch. I will do numbers first and then do operators second because I want to name them differently. So these functions and click events, I want to get rid of them from this HTML. So I don't need them inside the HTML. So I'll delete from this place. And what I need to do now is I'll give it a class. And I'll call all the numbers. I'll just give them, let me call it something simple, num-btn. btn. Okay, yes. So I've replaced the numbers from functions and oblique events to class. And we already know what class is. Now for the operators, I'll do the same. 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, and 4 here. So what do I call this? I'll still give them class, and I'll call this operator -btn. Okay, so it means that all the operators have uniform class, while all the numbers have uniform class. I will also change the class of this clear screen. I'll change the class just to resemble what it is doing here. I'll call this clear btn. And one last thing here, I'll change this young man here to I'm not use calculate menu day too long. Equal.btn. You see, at this point now, we don't have any JavaScript loitering around anywhere here. Instead, we have our JavaScript file linked at the bottom of the code. So we have now a sane HTML. And let's go back to this code and then refactor this one again. And then to refactor it, it means we need to grab all the buttons, we need to grab them. Okay. First of all, we have this screen. So the screen remains the status quo. And terms and condition of this input, the screen remains. I don't want to change this class name.
Sorry, sir. Sir, please, sorry. I hope this class is being recorded, sir.
So that you go
and sleep and be so you leave what you are going to sleep.
Sir?
You want to leave us and
You want to leave us and go and sleep?
No, sir, I'm not that, sir. I just wanted to get back to it later.
Sorry?
Yes, I say just for wanting to get back to later.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, no problem. So I know why I said that. Somebody will now say, he's recording the class. Let me go and sleep. Later I'll watch it. If you sleep to watch later, you will not see the recording to watch you. So you better shine your eye there. Shine your eye and
sometimes you are funny.
Because go give us time 9 o'clock and then you go leave us go sleep. You won't go record and later. Me too, I go sleep. Later you go watch sleep. All of us go to snap. Okay.
And for me, I choose 8 o'clock, but most of them they choose 9, 10. Okay.
Yeah,
Please, this 9 is better for us. I enter kitchen. 9 is better for me.
You think that's for you, I mean 8 is better.
It's okay. We are here already. So I'm just telling Benedict so that you know we'll go leave us wrong.
All right, let's look at
what we need to grab here. We have already the screen. We'll grab this button, number buttons, the operator buttons. We'll also grab the equal button and the clear button. So it follows the same principle with this first one here. Now, but we have to name them differently. So the second one will be const, and I'll call it non-btn, and I'll pass it to good. My eye is working. So pay attention here now. This is query selector I use because I'm using only one. Okay, but here is query selector all because we have multiple buttons with the same class name. Let's consult. Let's do some consultation here. Okay, so that we know. So that we will not get confused in any way. So here we have, where is that young man? Okay, here we have finding HTML element by CSS selector. So you have, if you want to find all elements that matches a specified CSS selector, then use the query selector all. That is when you have multiple of them and you want to have access all of them. Okay, that's why I use query selector all. But if it's just one, you can use query selector. And I'm going to do a demonstration here so that we'll see what exactly is going on. Now the next one here is the operator btn. Because we have multiple operators, I'm also going to use query selector all. Now, after the query selector for this button, now the equal button is 1, and then the clear button is 1. So all those ones that are 1, 1, I use query selector. The ones that are many, I use query selector all. Now, these are the 5 elements that we want to grab from the JavaScript. Instead of then using these functions that we've used here, I will not delete this one, I'll just comment them out. I'll comment them out. We'll use a different method. Why? Because in this case, we're still going to use the eval, but the first problem we want to solve before we now solve the last one by removing the eval is getting rid of JavaScript in our HTML. That is the second step. First one, JavaScript was here. Second one, we are separating it entirely. Here now, let's do something. We are going to use a loop. And that loop is known as for each. Is a type of loop that we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about it.
That's to say, I get it right.
Hello?
Oh, no, sorry for this problem. I think I got it right.
Okay, so for each is a loop, is a method. For each method of iterator instance is similar to array, blah 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 blah. All this thing I'm showing you just on your own. When the brain seems as if it's not connecting, quickly come back here and you will see how it works. So for each can be used on array or iterators. That is anything that you know you can loop over. Okay. Method of array instances execute a provided function once for each array button. This is an array, and here for each is used, and it passes over the element once, so to say, one, and that is why it is printed out this way. So it's not like a type of array that you use and then it will iterate multiple times on each item. No. It just iterates once based on an action that is taken, and that is why it takes in a callback function. Okay, so why do we need this for each loop? We need for each because it will return a node list. It will return the list of all the buttons that has class name number btn or number b operator btn. So what we do now is we are going to call the number btn and we say dot for each, and then this for each takes in a callback function. So I'm not going to use arrow function here. Instead, I will just use a conventional function. I'll call it this way, and I'll just put it like this. Okay. Inside this for each, all right, we have not considered this what's it called? We have not considered this keyword. So I will not use anything that is so far beyond the scope of what we have learned already. So this is a for each that we are passing into this list of buttons, and we are passing in a callback function, which means when you click this button, it will fire this function. Now, inside the function, let me log out something. I'll log out btn, just short for button. So I'll pass in a parameter to this function, which means at any time that a button is clicked, something should happen to each of those buttons. But if I click something now, nothing will happen yet. If I click, nothing would happen. But if I check the log screen, let me widen this up. See what happens. From 0 to 9, it returns all our buttons with the class name num.btn. Let me clean it. If I just refresh, I don't need to click because there is no event attached to any of this. Once I refresh the page, this for each, it runs through all our HTML elements and retrieve for us the buttons that have this non-btn class, and that's what we are seeing here. This is known as a node list. Okay, so we now want to pass in event listener to this button, to each of the buttons. So whenever any button is clicked, we should give something. We should give a command of what will happen whenever any button is clicked. So each button is then represented by btn, which is the parameter we passed into this callback function. Each button should then listen. That's why we're adding events listener. Okay. Each button then should listen to what? It should listen to a click. Make all the buttons just pay attention. If they click them, then we'll pass in another callback function. Whenever they listen to a click and they see a person click on them, then it should fire up another function. Inside that function, we'll now say exactly what we want to make that button do for us. Okay, so this is the function right inside there. So let's move this up. Let me move this young man inside and I save. So what we have here, we have, if I click, see what happens. What I have said here is anytime that any button is clicked, log out that button for me on the screen. Here we have number 1. If I click 0, it will log 0, 2, 3. So at this point now, we are gradually breaking this thing down into what we are trying to achieve. So this for each is very important. It's widely used, so we need to understand it appropriately. Like I said, for each helps us to run through a list of items. In this case, it's button. And then it takes a callback function that will assign an event to each of the buttons. And the event we are using now is click. Each button is listening to click, and the event listener is also taking a callback function that will then tell the button what to do for us. And in this case, we are telling the button show up in the console whenever you are being clicked. Let's now translate this to the screen. So to translate that to the screen, here we have our calculator screen, and it is not yet initialized. So we are going to say calculator screen dot value. Okay. Calculator screen dot value. Why am I feeling headache? So we are going to pass it to the inner text or text content of this button. This element now, number 7, it has a content right here. So what we do, we say whatever button that we click on, any number or any content of that button should be shown on the screen. We said each button dot text content and then close it there. If I click number 7, it's shown on the screen and it's logged out here. I click again. You see, so all the buttons that have that class name, we are clicking and it is showing on the screen. This is wonderful.
Now this one looks
more complicated than just using a simple function, but is more important to understand than just using a simple function as well. So remember, we are not going to jump any protocol. The same way we had multiple functions, we are going to have multiple event listeners and multiple for loops to help us perform all this operation that we have or we need. Now, this is for the numbers or for the number buttons. Let's now go ahead and deal with the operator buttons. I'm not going to how do I call it? I'm not going to explain too much again because it is the same thing that we are going to repeat. So we grab our operator here. So we take the operator btn, which is a list of buttons. We put in for each loop. Here we have our callback function with the btn parameter, and here inside our callback function, what we need to do is to pass an event listener to all the buttons that is going to be clicked. Something is wrong somewhere. I need to close. This up.
The curly bracket has to be before the normal bracket.
Thank you, Jerry. See, I'm repeating the same folder.
So right now
I'm feeling headache, so I'm going to get ready to welcome plenty mistakes. Alright, so it's the same thing we did here that we're doing here, but this time it is on the operator buttons, not on the number buttons. Why? Because what we are looping through or what we are running through is the operator btn. So let me just log it in again so that when I click on this, you will see the plus and it's showing on the screen, and this is showing, and this is showing, and so on and so forth. So second objective achieved. Third one, we're going to do the same for the equal button before the we'll do it for the equal button. For the equal button, it's not really going to be that much. And this thing they confuse me. I'm not going to accept that. Good. So inside here, what we just do, we don't need to pass in. So we don't need to pass in any parameter to the callback function. All right. Because the equal is going to make use of eval at the same time. So let's call the calculator screen right here dot value, and then we pass it on towards eval, and then this eval will take whatever is on the screen and perform calculation for us. So if we let's also log this one in there. Here we go. So at this point we can perform calculation because we have the numbers and the operator. So if I put 1 plus 3, it will give us 4. That's awesome. 2 divided by, you see the problem now. See, what was sorted out? 2 divided by 1. If I press, they give anything because 42 divided by 1 is 42. But then when I press another button, it appends to the number that is already there. We'll sort that out.
Okay,
the last thing which we need to do here is our declare button. So we are going to call declare btn and pass event listener. This one we do not need to log it down because there's nothing to log in. Log out that. Okay. So this one will just clear the screen for us. If I click this, and everything is working. So the code is becoming a little more complex, but still the logic is not making any sense. It's not logically correct. But the objective is helping us to understand how to build this calculator. And there are a few things that this calculator can do. It doesn't. I used to tell some people that computer have brain, but it doesn't have sense because it can't think on its own. So if I say 2 plus 3, it will give me 5. That's correct. But if I did not clear the screen and type another number, it will add up to what is already there. That is the instruction we have given, which makes it logically not sensible. And another thing is if I add 2 divide 1 divided by 2 times 3. See what happened? Okay, sorry. Let me go click another thing. 1 divided by 2 times 3. I click to give us decimal. That is very correct. But there are no regulation on this calculator. Not at all. And we have not gotten to that point yet. So at this point, we are done building our calculator, basic calculator, without writing any JavaScript inside the HTML, and all our JavaScript is in a separate file. Okay. Let's know if there is any question or any reaction to that. Like the candidates, they have reduced. Some people have japa.
Do you have any question?
Do you have any question?
Make
una leave this record of a thing. Do you have any question yet? If you are hearing me, give thumbs up. Let me know how many people are still awake. Benedict, Jim Dindo, and Josephine, Ahmed, everybody there awake. Nice one. Idris, Nuruddin. Okay. Amal is raising up hand. Jim Dindo. Let's take Amal. Let's go. Try with your question, Amal. Is raising up hand. I know they sound well. Oh, Nachim didn't raise up hand. Chibundo. My brother, no verse for me. I will murder your name till I come master. Please go ahead with your question.
Okay, our two functions, they are really similar. Like we have the same block of code, only that the function names are different. So why don't we just use one class name and one code for both the operators and the numbers?
This one and this one.
Yes.
So we should use in the class name, we should use one name for the operators and the numbers, right?
Is that what you are
Is that
saying?
what you are saying? Sorry, I think I've lost your line. Your voice is cracking.
Are you still there?
Are you still there?
Hello, Chibundu.
Hello, Chibundu.
Can you see chat?
You can use the chat if because I can't hear you again. Where that chat something is. Guys, am I still audible? I've been on my own. My own voice now another here.
Okay.
Okay.
You are loud and clear, sir. I think it's his network.
Okay. Chibundu,
Okay. Chibundu, please, if your network, you can try and then maybe when you reconnect, we'll take the question. Okay. I was asking why did we not use one class name for the numbers and the operators? Okay. He likes tough things. I like that. So let's go tough. So what he's saying is since this and this they're almost identical. The only difference is this one. Why not use the same class name? Which means all the buttons should have the same class name. Yes, it is possible. And let's do that as an addition. We already understood this because we are trying to take it, the building block, we are trying to take it from the very beginning. Okay, so let us combine the two together, which means right inside here, let's just change all this one, the operators, let's change them to but a number bit here. This 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we just give it num bit here. So there's no more operators bit here. We have equal and declare. And then we come right back here. And we're going to comment out this young man here. Which one? We'll comment this one out because it's no longer functional. And that also means we are going to comment out this one. So if I click on any of the buttons, it will show us on the screen. Which means if I click 1 plus 3, it will still give us 4. Okay? Why is it easy and very convenient? Because we are using the eval function here. This eval, as long as you give it an expression, it will calculate it for you. So it is making the code to be shorter, all right? And it means we have to, if we click something like plus 3 plus 3 equal, it will give us 6. Because the eval will use common sense and say, okay, now math you want now. Okay, plus 3 plus 3 to give us something. So, but if I put plus 3 minus 2 and I click it to give us 1. So it will calculate 3 minus 1 and just something like that. So
the question of
Chibunto
have helped us to reduce the level or the bulky of the code that we have written, because we're using for each, it still returns the same thing. The next thing now, which before our brain starts, getting somehow, I want us to remove this young man here. This eval will get rid of it. Okay, it is a different method entirely. So let me comment this out. We still need this for each. There's not much thing that we're going to change. We're not going to change much things there, but we have to use some other methods. My God. So this function here, I mean this loop here will remain. We'll leave this one because we still need to access all the buttons. Please, if you have any question or any confusion anywhere, call my attention. I beg of you. Now, the only thing we want to replace is this right here, and we're going to use a function. Let's use a function. And in this function now, we'll call it let's just call it equal. So story that touched the house. Then this is going to be our function. We pass in our code writing. What do we want to do inside this function? First of all, let me explain. By the time we finish doing this, there are also different approach to it. This is not the final bus stop. What we want to do now, the calculator will be able to do calculations without the eval function, but it will not be able to calculate multiple operations at the same time. So at the end, it can only calculate two values, like something like 1 plus 2. If you pass in two values, it can calculate on any operator. But if you do something like 3 times 6 plus 2, it won't be able to calculate it. Okay, but then the next stage will now do it in such a way that it can take any value and calculate it. That is the progression. Guys, if you are following what I'm saying, or if it's making any sense, let me get thumbs up there. Because if we jump from ground to the roof, the tendency of falling back down is very high. I don't fall from rooftop. That's why we'll take it gradually. All right, let's take in a function. Inside here, okay, we have created our function already. Equal func. That is equal function. So I'm going to create some variables inside here. And the first variable, I will call it digits. Okay, and I'll pass this digit to I want to give it some descriptive. I'll pass this digit to, what do I call it? Okay. Let me call it expression. Okay. And this expression, we're going to split it up. Okay. Calm down. We're going to split the expression with what? Empty space. Like this. So what is this expression? This expression now represents anything that you type into the screen. I type anything here, all right, anything I'm typing in the screen is now known as the expression, is passed into this expression because it's going to be a parameter to this function. So this is going to grab everything that is on the screen, split it. I will explain further. The next one is we're now going to take whatever that is passed on the screen, split it into 3 different parts. And because we'll be able to change the value of the variable, we use let instead of const. So here we call it num1. We are going to pass it into pass float. Why are we passing it into pass float? I will explain later. For now, call this digit, digits, and then we pass in 0, and I save. Look at what is happening here. Let's coagulate first. This split turns a string or value into an array. Where is our consultant? Here we have split, string splits. Good. Now see what this split does. It's a split method. Is a string method. It takes value, divides this string into ordered list of substring by searching for pattern, put this substring into an array, and blah blah blah. The summary of all this long grammar is that split, if it is passed on a string, convert that string into an array. It's simple. Here we have an example of the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, blah blah blah. Here split is passed on it, and when you check for the index number 3, it returns only false. Why? This is 1 2 3, so 0 1 2 3, sorry. So which means the split has converted this array, this string into an array, and you can be able to access them one after the other using their index number. That is how split works. Okay, you can use it on a string, you can use it on a symbol, okay, or regex and some other things. But basically understand that why we are using this is because whatever we type on the screen is going into the screen as a string. We pick it up and we scatter them, we pieces them, we split them up. And what is our delimiter? Our delimiter is an empty space. That is why I put it here. Okay. So when it splits up, for example, 1 plus 3, this is our expression that is passed inside here. The function, inside the function, we are now taking that expression and we are splitting it, which means the 1 will stand separate, plus separate, 3 separate, and we begin to use our index number, the array index, to access them one at a time, storing them in different variables. Now let's talk about this pass float. When the split, when a split method splits splits a string, I don't want to confuse anybody. Let me just select words that I use here. When you use splits on a string, we know that strings are letters, words, okay, texts. You cannot add text to give you an answer like number. So we need to convert these things, this text, the array, into numbers. That is what pass float does. we also have we have pass int for integer whole numbers. But the reason why we are converting it into pass float is to accommodate decimal values. This is a calculator. So sometimes we pass some values and the thing will return digit with decimal. If we did not use this pass float, or if we use pass int, it will not pass. The gate will lock. So let's look at it here. Pass. We have pass int, pass float. It's a pass float function, passes a string argument and returns a floating point number. Simple. Simply put, pass float function is used to convert a string into a decimal point number. On the other hand, pass int passes a string argument and returns integer. Okay? In this case now, whole number, so to speak. So if you pass in a decimal number into this pass int, it will remove the decimal and return only the first value. Okay, I think this is good at this point. The second thing that we want to grab from the splits is our operator, because the operator will always have to be at the center, and that will be index number 1, and then num2 will be index number 2. So like this, if we have 3 stuff inside, we'll be able to split this and pass them one at a time into these variables. Okay. Now what else do we need to use at this point? Because we have 4 operators, we need now to know at what point, like this. Let me save it. Sorry, I'm saving something else. As we are doing, we should be experimenting so that we'll see how it works. Inside the equal, because what I just created is a function that will handle the calculation. We have our equal, what is that equal event list now? Okay, look at the young man. Okay. This one is our equal button where we passed in the eval. So we need to replace this eval. What do we need to do? I will get rid of this young man here, and also get rid of this. We don't need that. Thank you for banking with us. And inside here, I'll make a function, and I'll call that function to be, let me just call it let me give it a name that will be descriptive. So here, inside here, we have used this. Let's just call it sum up. I hope you guys will understand. So what I want to do here is I want to pass in whatever that is on the screen, and that is going to be the calculator screen, calculator result, which is on the screen, dot value. Okay, and this time I'm going to use the trim function. Why am I going to use the trim function? In case, all right, of unnecessary spaces, because you know our delimiter in this split function is empty space. So to avoid unnecessary space that may result to an error, I want to remove this unnecessary space using this trim. But I believe without this it will still work, in case you are trying it out. But we are trying to take precaution. So what is the job of this trim? Trim here removes white space from both ends of the string and returns a new string. So here if you have empty spaces, when you use the trim, it will remove those extra spaces and give you a new string. And you can use trim start if you only want to remove space from the beginning, and trim end if you want to remove from the end. So that's just the reason why I'm doing this here. And after doing that, I'll now say here I'll use if statement. We already know how to use if statement. I'll now use if statement here and say if the sum up, that is, if whatever that is on the screen after trimming, or if there is something on the screen after trimming it, what do I do at this point? I would have to pass in another function. I will do const new results. Let me just call this new results. This new results now, sorry, should be what? There is a function that we created. That function is where all the jargons are done. We're not calling that equal, sorry, not equal form, it's equal function. We call it that equal function. So let me reiterate. If there is something on the screen, that is to say, if we have typed something, whatever that is on the screen should be grabbed and we are going to pass in that thing that is being trimmed up inside our function right here. Okay. Then when we do that, we should then pass it to the screen. Otherwise, let me finish so that if I have questions, I'll take questions. Otherwise, we should just return an error message, but a customized error message in this case. Please enter a valid expression. I think this one too long, but let's leave it like that. Okay. What do we do? Let's check. Though there is something that we have not done yet, but if I put 4 plus 3 and I hit, it says undefined. Wow. Are you serious? What is undefined in this case? Let's look at this. This plus this equal undefined. What is it that is being undefined here? Something is wrong somewhere. Something is absolutely wrong somewhere. Okay. What is missing is that we need to use something, because right here we only said we only grabbed all the number we are typing. If we type 8, sorry, we type 8 plus 2, this will give us 10. We only splitted this thing and we stored them 1, 1, 1. We have not used any of this variable anywhere. So this function itself don't even know what is looking for. What is it looking for? It does not know yet. And here we use if else statement. We need to use a conditional to tell this function how to use the values inside these variables. And simply we are going to make it easy and straightforward, use a switch. We also talked about switch. What are we switching over? We are switching over the operator, right? Because an operator here now is a determining factor of what operation should be carried out. Plus, I don't talk too much, but let me accept this before we continue. Ladies and gentlemen, are we still together?
Yes or yes?
Yes or yes? Okay. Only two people. Two people. Others are yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. We are still together. Glory be to Jah. All right. I thought some people have traveled. So, see what we are doing here now. I would explain over again. So, at this point, we have made use of our variables here. What we are iterating over is this operation. Is this operation, but there's something we have not done. Is this operation? We say
This switch
should always take this particular
value
value and then check. He said, if what is inside this operator is plus, then perform this. Otherwise, do this. Otherwise, do this. Otherwise, do this. But if it's none of the above, by the time we enter three values and no operator is inside, it should return this. Now,
let's see
whether it will show us undefined again. Say 2 plus 3. Invalid operator. Because he's saying here that so it means he's not recognizing any of them. What is going on? Why is he not recognizing any of them? He said it is invalid operator. What is going on, Seth? Okay, let me not
I think. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I think it's our delimiter that is the problem because there is nowhere we put space in between the numbers and the plus for it to capture it. I don't know if you get my point.
The delimiter in this expression is split here.
Yes. So I think they should like we should remove the space in between and try again and see.
Okay, I should close up the space.
Yes.
Okay. Somebody is observing. Any other observation? Because we're gonna try everything. Guys, let's bring it on. Let's bring it on. Any other observation? Okay, let's try it. 2 minus 1 equal. Okay. Somebody's nodding head now. Say. Okay, somebody's nodding head. 25 times 52 times 5. Invalid operator. Okay, nice one. Oh, sorry. So 20 plus 10 is another invalid operator. Okay. All right. I guess that was cheap on the right.
Yes. At least one worked.
Yes. That worked. So if I put in a space and I do this, then it says invalid operator. Yes, because there is no way to grab the operators. Okay. That's a nice one.
But then
But
we know
then
that
we
this
know
is
that
already
this is
having
already
some
having some issues,
issues,
like I explained earlier.
because
Because
if you put in
if
more
you put
than
in more
three
than three
digits,
digits,
the
the
second,
second, the index number
will no longer
one will
be
no
an
longer be
operator,
an
and it will
operator and
return
it will
this
return
default.
this default case.
We are seeing that.
We are seeing that.
That being said,
That
no
being
much
said,
problem
no much
about that.
problem about that.
But we
But
have
we have seen already that,
okay, we don't
okay,
have the
we don't
eval
have the
function
eval
here,
function here,
and at
and
least
at
it can
least it can
perform
perform
simple
simple
operation
operation 1
1,
plus 1,
and
and it returns
2 for
2
us.
for us.
If you
If you
understand
understand at all,
let's see.
let's see the reaction. Let's get the reaction before we
Because
continue.
I know that the
Because I know that
confusion
the
is
confusion will
jump in.
jump in.
The confusion
The
is
confusion is somewhere
in
is
this
in this
modification here
modification here
and
and
in this
in this
function. But the
function.
function
But the
is
function is
straightforward. Once you
straightforward.
understand
Once you
split,
understand split,
it's straightforward.
it's
This
straightforward.
split
This
is the only
split
thing
is
here.
the only thing
Who
here.
is crying?
Who is
Who will be
crying?
that?
Who will be that?
Let's take
Let's
questions.
take
Come on, come
questions.
on,
Come
come
on,
on,
come
guys.
on,
Let's
come on,
take
guys.
questions.
Let's take questions.
Okay, I
I
have
think I have
something.
something.
So can I ask my question?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please.
That split is really getting me confused because I should think split is supposed to separate the numbers, but in this case we are only using one digit. What are we splitting? Can you please explain it further, please? Because that's the only place that is getting me confused.
Okay,
Okay.
let's
Let's
start from
start from
there.
there.
Hoping
Hoping
to
to that
not people
not
ask
people ask
questions
questions
because somebody
because
is crying
somebody is
and is not
crying and
telling
is
us
not
why he's
telling us
crying.
why
I
he's
don't
crying.
understand.
I don't understand.
Okay, so
Okay, so
let
let
me log
me
out
log out
from here.
something here.
I'm going to
I'm
log
going to
this
log
out.
this out. Log.
I'll log out
I'll log out
this
this
expression
expression
right here,
right here,
and
and
after the
after the
split,
split,
I'll,
sorry,
I'll log out the
I'll log out the
digits.
digits.
Okay,
Okay,
so right
so
in
right in
here,
here,
I'm
I'm
typing.
typing. Let
Remove
me
this one.
remove this one.
Please, you have done
Please,
your
you have
job.
done your job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I am
So I am
typing something on the
typing something on
screen.
the screen.
1
1
divided by
divided by
1.
1.
I hit
I hit
enter.
enter.
I hit the
I
equal
hit the
button. See
equal
what
button. See
happens.
what
This is what
happens.
I
This is
typed on
what
the
I typed
screen.
on the screen.
Now this
Now
is
this
what the
is what
split
the
does.
split
The split
does. The
is
split
now
is now
dividing
dividing
this
this
expression, what I
expression,
typed on
what
the
I typed on the
screen,
screen,
into an
into
array
an array
where 1
where
will be an
one will be
entity
an
on its
entity
own.
on its own.
This operator
This
will be
operator will be
separate.
separate. This will be separate.
If I break this
If I break
down, this
this
is what we
down,
now
this is what
have
we now have
with their
with their
individual
individual
index
index
numbers.
numbers.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
remember that I
remember that I
said there is
said there is
limitation to this.
limitation
It will
to
only
this. It will only
calculate
calculate
basic
basic
inputs.
inputs.
Now,
Now,
since this
since
split
this
has
split
divided
has
what we
divided
typed
what we
in
typed
into
in
an
into
array,
an array,
we now
we
use
now use this,
we stored
we
that
store that
array
array
into a
into
variable
a
called
variable called
digits.
digits.
And now we are
And now we are
using
using
our
our
we
what
are
is it
using
called? We
this
are using
index
this
number
index number 012 to
each of
access
these
each of
items
these items
separately,
separately,
storing
storing them
them
in
in
a
a separate
separate
variable. The
variable.
first
The
one, which
first
is
one, which
1
is
here, is
1
stored
here,
in
is stored
num1
in
variable.
num1 variable.
Operator is stored
Operator is
inside
stored inside
operator.
operator.
Num2 is stored
Num2 is
into
stored into
num2 here.
num2 here.
So
So
basically,
basically, let me
because of
because
the
of the
what do I
what do
call
I
it?
call what is that
Because
again?
of this
Because of this
correction, let me
correction, let me
get rid of
get rid
this
of this
delimiter here.
delimiter here. because it's not actually necessary. 2 plus 3 and okay. Oh, it is not where it's supposed to be. 2 plus I type in 3 minus. Okay. So basically, let me leave that one the way it is. That is what the splitter does, Josephine. Without this splitter, this our expression will remain an array. Let me, what else? How else can I do that? Let me just remove this for a moment and save. And then if I type something inside this plus this and I click, see what happens here. So what is going to return for us is 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2. On the screen is returning, what is it called? Is returning 4. Why is it returning 4 still? Remember we did some jargons here. And then remember we have this thing still in place. So why is it still working? Let me even ask. Before you answer the question, Josephine, I don't know if you understood what I explained.
Yes, I explained the split, but now that it's still working without it, that's why I was confused at first.